Hi guys, and in this segment I'm going to talk about how you should be calculating your macronutrients. So let's get straight into it. So firstly, step one, we need to find out what your resting energy expenditure is, also known as REE. And then after we find that, we then need to find out what your total daily energy expenditure is, TDEE. And then we're going to follow up this simple formula that I've got written down here. So what is resting energy expenditure? Well, all this means is how many calories you burn when you're doing nothing all day. Literally when you're, hence the word resting. When you're resting, how many calories are you burning? And then once we get that number, we are then going to find out how many calories you are burning due to exercise, depending on how vigorous it is, to then be able to multiply that number and figure out how many calories you are burning, including your sessions at the gym. So here's the equation. It will be 10 times your weight in kilograms plus 6.25 times your height in centimeters minus 5 times your age in years plus 5. That will give us your REE, your resting energy expenditure. So for example, let's say a male who weighs 70 kilos, who's 174 centimeters, who is 22 years of age. We put that into the equation and we get an REE of 1672.5. Now, what does this number mean? Well, this number means that on this guy's day off, when he's completely resting, doing nothing, he burns a total of 1672.5 calories doing absolutely nothing. Now, after finding out this number, we then need to find out how many calories he's burning at the gym. But this is all dependent on how vigorous the activity he may be performing. So there's 4 different categories: sedentary, light, moderate, and very active. And depending on which one we choose, the higher the amount of calories you're going to burn. So for example, a sedentary, a normal daily activity is literally going to be like walking, going up the stairs, talking, etc. Not doing much, but just doing the basics. And then light is any activity that burns up to 200 to 400 calories for females and 250 to 500 calories for men. And then there's moderate, which is anything that adds an additional 400 to 600 calories burnt for females and 500 to 800 calories for men. And then there's very active, which is anything that burns an additional 650 plus calories for females and 800 calories for men. So once you've figured which category you're in, you can then get your REE. So in this case, for this guy, it's 1672.5, and then we multiply it by which number, depending on which category you're in. So if you're in moderate, you've got to times your REE by 1.5 times. If you're very active, you've got to times it by 1.725, and so on and so forth. You get the gist. So in this example, our guy is he's very active. So he has to multiply his REE, which is how many calories he burns without exercise, and then multiplies that by 1.725. So if we get his 1672 times 1.725, that will give us his TDEE, which is his total daily energy expenditure. So this is basically all of his calories burnt, including exercise, and that gives us a number of 2,884.2 calories burnt in his days where he's working out. So now, what do we do from here? So now we've got that number, 2,884.2, we're going to round that down to make it easier, so 2,880 calories burned per day. So when he's working out on a normal day, he burns 2,880 calories. So then now how do we work out our macros, so like our protein, our carbs and fats? How do we work that out for him? So we've got to keep this in mind here. This is always good to have in sight so we understand the concept of protein, carbs and fats, because this is important. So these are the calorie values of each macronutrient. So for every gram of protein there's 4 calories, for 1 gram of carbs there's 4 calories, and 1 gram of fat there's 9 calories. In this example, I'm going to show you guys how this guy should maintain weight. So we said before, this guy weighs 70 kilos. His TDEE, his total daily energy expenditure, is 2,888 calories. So following a simple rule a lot of people use online, which is per pound of body weight you must have 1 gram of protein in order to maintain weight. However, there's a lot more a balanced approach, especially for beginners, to use 0.825 grams per pound of body weight to maintain weight. So what this means is, for every pound of body weight this guy weighs, we must times that by 0.825, which is in grams, to be able to find out how many grams of protein this guy should be having on a daily basis. Like I said, this guy weighs 70 kilos. So in pounds, that's 154 pounds. So we times 154 pounds by 0.825, and that gives us 127.05 grams of protein per day. That means in order to maintain his muscle size, maintain his muscle mass, this guy must be having at least 127 grams of protein per day. Now, that's just the protein. We've now got to get the carbs and the fats involved in calculating this guy's macronutrients. So the rule of thumb is it's different for everyone. So in this example, I'm going to say 25% of his total diet of 2,880 calories is going to be of fat. So what I do here in this equation is to find out how much fat he should be having a day, is I do 2,880 times 0.25 to find out what 25% of 2,880 is, which gives us 720. That means he's got to have 720 calories per day of fat. And then to find out how many grams that is, we then divide 720 calories by 9, because 9 calories is 1 gram of fat. So therefore, how many 9's going to 720 will give us the amount of how many grams of fat he should be having per day. So 720 divided by 9 equals 80 grams of fat. So far this guy should be having 127.05 grams of protein per day and 80 grams of fat per day. That now leaves us with the carbs. So what do we do here? Okay. So like I said, this example I'm going to be showing you how this guy should maintain weight. So he's got to be eating 2,880 calories to be able to maintain weight, because he's burning 2,880. So if he puts 2,880 back in, he's literally, nothing would have changed. He's going to be able to maintain his body composition. So we figured out the protein, we figured out his fat. Now how do we figure out the carbs? So what we do here is, from subtracting the amount of calories in our protein and fat from our total daily energy expenditure, our TDEE, we then allocate the rest of the remaining calories to our carbs. So finding out what 80 grams of fat is in calories, and finding out what 127.05 grams of protein is in calories, we can then minus that off of the total, which is 2,880, to find out how many calories are left in order to allocate to carbs. So protein, 127.05 grams is 508.2 calories. Fat, 80 grams is 720 calories. Which means, if we add those two numbers together and then subtract them from 2,880, we are left with 1,651.8 calories left over for carbs. And 1,651.8 calories equals 412.95 grams of carbs. And now, how did I work that number out? Well, if you remember in the previous slide here, for every gram of carbs, there's 4 calories. So that means we got to do 1,651.8 divided by 4 to find out how many grams a day this guy should be getting, and that equals 412.95 grams of carbs. So that's a simple way of breaking down how to calculate your macronutrients to maintain weight. There's just an overall example of what the guy's intake should be and how it should look. But in terms of, that's just to maintain weight. In terms of now, how do you alter that to build muscle and how to lose weight? Well, it depends on your goals really, and how quick you want to achieve them. Everybody has different body compositions, so in order to reach your goals, you've got to find out, your body type, find out calculate the amount of exercise you perform weekly, how vigorous it is. For example, like I said before, is it sedentary, just casual, just walking, or is it very, very, very active? So you're literally working a lot, burning upwards of 800 calories for men or 650 for women. Um, it's altered different for different people. Everybody has different metabolisms, so therefore everybody's diet will be different. But an average rule of thumb, a rough guide to build muscle, you need to be eating 20% more than your TDEE. So, for example, if I wanted to build muscle and my calorie intake to maintain weight was 2,880, I need to be eating 20% more than that in order to gain weight, in order to gain muscle, put on muscle. 20% of 2,888, I believe, is 576. So on top of 2,888, I'd need to be eating an additional 576 calories in order to put on weight, and that would roughly come to about 3,456, I believe, 3,456 calories. So that's in order to gain weight. Now, to lose weight, it's exactly the same percentage. A rough guide is to eat 20% less than your TDE. So I'd eat 20% less than 2,880 calories in order to lose weight. And say, for example, I was cutting out 500 calories per day. That means over the week, I'll be cutting out 3,500 calories a week, which is roughly losing a pound of fat per week. But like I said, it depends on your goals and what you want to achieve, guys. But one thing people seem to forget to talk about when calculating your macronutrients, it's all well and good being able to calculate them and then being able to, be able to sustain your diet over a long period of time. But after a certain period of time, it's different for different people. Like different bodies adjust differently. But after a certain amount of time, your body's going to adjust. It's going to adapt. So it's going to realize that you're either eating enough to put on muscle, or you're eating less to lose weight. So if it figures out, say for example, you keep eating 20% less than your normal calorie expenditure is, your total daily energy expenditure is, it's going to then adapt and then realize that it needs to slow its metabolism down in order to function properly, meaning that over time it'll adapt and your progress will slow down. That's where you then need to alter calculating your macros again. It shouldn't be major in terms of the differences in calculating them, but things should get higher, things should get lowered, like protein, fats, carbs, in order to help meet your goals. Otherwise, your body's going to reach a plateau and you're not going to be able to progress further. But anyway, I hope this video helped you guys, and I hope you can, kill it out there and reach your goals.